Yes, Bill Jones with recapturefederalism.com. Recapturefederalism.com. Talking to you again from Freedom's Nest. Freedom's Nest, where we have free people. A lot of free Freedom's Nest around the country. All the people, gun owners, what have you, millions and millions of people, more and more people get guns. They're we the people. They're we the people. And they are the majority. We are the majority, I should say. Not they, me, I'm part of we the people. We the people. I'm going to talk to you about communism again, treason, sedition, subversion. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you again about that. And the title is going to be, we're going to have been doing Notice of Treason. I'm going to put that on the tail end. But it's News Corporation, Fox News, treason, and Notice of Treason, Episode 7. Episode 7. And that's for the keywords, change around, maybe make it, I think I'm blackballed anyway, so, yeah, because I'm a veteran, that's why. Because I fought communism, that's why. And that's why I talk about Fox News. They got people, Harvard people, who they discriminated against me in 1966 in Boston. I was on a ship out of Boston. And you got Geraldo Rivera. I've done a show, did a presentation about, pro-communist discrimination against me. 1969. That's why I was in Vietnam, 1969. Yeah. And he's a Fox, been at Fox for several years now. Been at Fox for several years. He's still a communist, pro-communist. And that's the trouble with Fox. They are a little better than the other broadcast people who are totally, and have been, going back to McCarthyism. What McCarthyism really was, it's all brainwashing. What McCarthyism was, he was talking about communists. And they couldn't have that. The establishment, the press, the commie press, the commie politicians, the commie political parties can't have that. So they blackballed him. But Bill O'Reilly, he mentioned McCarthyism, spitting on man. He's telling you the truth. He don't tell no truth. He don't tell no truth. Because I'm going to show you why he don't tell no truth. Megyn Kelly, Shepard Smith, Greta Van Susteren, whose father, by the way, was Wisconsin. Packer fans. Go Packers. Her father was involved with Senator McCarthy. She don't ever mention that, talk about it. And I don't know what her feelings are about it. But McCarthy, who's from Wisconsin, World War II vet, Marine, yeah, they slandered him, didn't they? They do that to all the military veterans. Still do that. Still do it. 50 years ago, 1966 is when I was discriminated in Boston Harbor, coming in, been out looking for Soviet communist submarines, and we were discriminated against by people from Harvard. I'm just going by what they said, Harvard. Because we were ordered, we couldn't talk to them. We wanted to punch their asses out, okay? We wanted to punch their asses out. Navy, Marine detachment. They were between us and the beers at the M Club, man. Are you kidding me? With their BS, commie BS. Anyway, this morning I went on to my channel on YouTube because I want to see how many I got. I got 129. Almost all of them are dealing with communism. 129 videos. And I want to see how far back it went. And the first one I had on, I went to GoDaddy in 2013, apparently. April 29th is the first one I have. Before that, I was with HostGator, and I didn't like HostGator. But I then went with GoDaddy. Bigger, better, security better. And had some trouble with hacking and stuff like that when I was with HostGator. Not that's their fault, mind you. But GoDaddy's better security. And but you can get hacked by anybody. I mean, that's hacked by the government, FBI. Now, I'll get into that later. And you don't talk about that either. The thing out in Oregon going on. But anyway, the Ten Commandments and the Two-Party System, April 29th, 2013. That was 129 videos ago. That was the first video on here. Now, where did I first mention treason? Yeah. Treason. Enslavement of the American People, Part 3. This was a 9-parter, I believe, or an 8-parter. 8-parter. Enslavement of the American People. Treason, sedition, and subversion activities, May 22nd, 2013. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of them. Where I specifically talk about treason. I even did one with Governor Quinn. It's a public notice. They didn't contact me. Now, and you're not talking about me, but I, let you know I put out a notice to 7 people, notice of treason, against the United States and the 50 states. All 50 states got treason going on over. They all have treason clauses in their Constitution and or laws, statutes. And there's, of course, a statute, a clause, the treason clause, Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution, U.S. Constitution. I gave notice. And I cited 18 U.S.C., Chapter 115, Section 2382, misprision of treason. And you lawyers over there who are on air personalities, you know what I'm talking about. And Bill O'Reilly, you should know too. Public administration, Harvard. But you don't talk about it. Why don't you talk about treason? It's all over. It's going on all over the place. Yeah. Now, got my DD 214. Got 5 medals and 1 citation, all having to do with communism, fighting communism. And I'm going to go in, do what I always do. I, William R. Jones, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, so help me God. Now, that's an oath. Military oath. Military oath, that's the original one, by the way, going back to 1788, 1790. Okay? I did one video, the biggest story since 1788. I forget, I'll have to look and see when that one was. Maybe I did that with HostGator. I don't know. The biggest story since 1788. Treason. Treason goes back to the second president of the United States. He was a party guy and put in John Marshall, and they had Marbury versus Madison. A treasonable decision, by the way. That's in the notice. That's in the notice. I say that. And that's where we got the creeping, flowing document. It's not a flowing document. The Constitution's amendable. Also, the state constitutions are all amendable. But you don't talk about the violations of the Constitution, the treasonable violations. At Fox, commie heavy, commie light, commie heavy, commie light. The five, Greta Carlson, Gretchen Carlson, Fox Friends in the Morning. Bill O'Reilly, the biggest thing on cable. Tell you, he's going to tell you the truth. When somebody's got to tell you that they're telling the truth, they ain't telling the truth normally. Communist propaganda. Communist propaganda in agitation, right there. This is the guidelines of the Communist Party in 1921. And party media, party press. So why wouldn't I be, everybody be surprised that I mentioned the party press? Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. But you people just go on, go on, go on. Now, the three-party system comes from Isaiah 33, verse 22. For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. It is he who will save us. And then we have Romans 13. Romans 13. Romans 13. New King James Version. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For the rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be afraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore you must be subject not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. And they get into paying the taxes, head taxes. Head taxes. That's a fixed tax, isn't it? That's why we didn't have any income tax in the Constitution until they come out with the 16th Amendment, which was a treasonable deal. Just as the Federal Reserve is a treasonable deal. Yeah, a treasonable deal. And I brought this up because everybody's abiding and adhering to the Communist Manifesto. Judge Napolitano and and Megyn Kelly talking one night here a month or two ago. Oh, there's war. There's no war. Yeah, there is a war. It's been going. Insurrection. Been going since 1886, May 4th. 7 Chicago police officers killed by workers of all countries unite. Yeah. There are, besides, eternal truths such as freedom, justice, etc., that are common to all states of society. But communism abolishes eternal truth and abolishes all religion and all morality. Instead of constituting them on a new basis, it therefore acts in contradiction to all past historical experience. Page 26, Communist Manifesto. But communism abolishes eternal truth, it abolishes all religion and all morality. So the killing the cops in 1886, or more and more every day, is okay. Because it gets rid of all religions and all morality. The Judeo-Christian moral code, separation of church and state, demand, 1848, of Germany by the Communist Party. And we're adhering to the Communist Manifesto. Supreme Court, all the judiciary, all the politicians, all the free press. There ain't no free press. Why don't you say that? Why don't you get some Vietnam veterans or Korean War veterans or Cold War warriors come on there and talk about communism, fighting communism? No, you don't want to do that now, do you? Because we got to protect the 1% who are taking all the property, controlling all the property, the national banks. Okay? Finally, they labor everywhere for the union and the agreement of the democratic parties of all countries. The communists disdain to conceal their views and aims. They openly declare their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Let the ruling classes tremble at the communistic revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Working men of all countries. Unite. Unite. Unite under the Communist Manifesto. That was page 34, by the way. Yeah, page 34. Yeah. Now let me get to another area here. Now, skipping over a whole bunch, just hit and miss here a little bit. Principles of Communism, question 14. What will this new social order have to be like? It's communism. That's 1848, by the way. Principles of Communism. By the atheist Engels and Marx. That's why you have separation of church and state with the Communist Manifesto. They're atheist. They're atheist. Why you don't tell people that? You don't tell. You got Bernie, commie, with his acceptance, his victory speech the other night. Pure communism. And how's he going to pay for all the schools? Well, I want to tell you how he's going to pay for it. It says so right in here. Right in several places, but I'm going to pull this one up. In fact, the abolition of private property is doubtless the shortest and most significant way to characterize the revolution and the whole social order, which has been made necessary by the development of industry, and for this reason it is rightly advanced by communists as their main demand. Main demand. That's the Bernie, and Hillary, too. Progressives are communist. Bill O'Reilly, you talking the truth, you don't ever mention that. You don't ever mention that. Megan, you had Bill Ayers on. You didn't even mention communism. Had him on 2 nights or something. Didn't mention communism. He talks about Vietnam like it just started in 1961 or 60. Hey, Ho Chi Minh was there. Went to Moscow in the 20s. In 1930, he started the Communist Party in Vietnam. Yeah. Trying to overthrow that government. Finally did. Finally did. Had an agreement in 56. Get rid of the French. Got rid of the French. And then violated the agreement with South by invading. Yeah. Oh, you don't talk about that, do you? Yeah. No troops on the ground, ever, north of the DMZ in Vietnam. I know it was there. Yeah. We didn't bomb, and I was in bombing squad, we didn't bomb the origin of the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Yeah, we bombed the trail. They just built around it and what have you. You know why that is? Communist Franklin Delano Roosevelt. An agreement, Yalta Agreement, has it treated like a treaty, which it's not, it's an agreement, violation of Article 6 of the Constitution. Now I mentioned abolishment of private property. Here we get into this separation of church and state. You don't ever talk about this either. Article 16, Civil Affairs of the Augsburg Confession. Augsburg Confession. Article 16 of Civil Affairs. Of Civil Affairs, they teach that lawful civil ordinances are good works of God, and that it is right for Christians to bear civil office, to sit as judges, to judge matters by imperial or other existing laws, to award punishments, to engage in just wars, to serve as soldiers, to make legal contracts, to hold property, to make an oath when required by magistrates, to marry a wife and be given in marriage. To hold property. That's 1530, by the way. Year 1530. Hold property rights. Christians have property rights. That's where Judeo, and some Jews do too. That's where the Judeo-Christian moral code comes from, the property rights. Yeah. And then the next, they condemn also who do not place evangelical perfection in fear of God and in faith, but forsaking civil offices, for the gospel teaches an eternal righteousness of the heart. Meanwhile, it does not destroy the state or the family, but very much requires that they be preserved at the ordinances of God, and the charity be practiced in such ordinances. Charity. Not the government establishing stuff. No, charity. You don't seize the property, send to give the kids to school. No, that's wrong. Meanwhile, it does not destroy the state or the family, very much requires that it be preserved as the ordinance of God, and that charities be practiced in such ordinances. Then I got this highlighted, the rest of this. Therefore, Christians are necessarily bound to obey their magistrates and the laws, save only when commanded to sin, for they ought to obey God rather than men. Acts 5:29. Acts 5:29, which is, but Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. Judeo-Christian moral code. And we have the Supreme Court making rules favor the Communist Manifesto. And the guidelines of the Communist Party, Central Democrat, Democratic Centralism. Yeah. Department of Education, Energy, blah, 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 blah. Federal Housing Authority, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then we get question 18. What will be the course of this revolution? They have a couple paragraphs where they blah, blah, blah. And then they have 13 items. And then a couple more paragraphs, which I'm going to read one in here in a minute. The last one. But number 1, limitation of private property, progressive taxation, heavy inheritance taxes, abolition of inheritance through collateral lines, brothers, nephews, etc. Forced loans. Forced loan, how much we owe now? Forced loan? That's communism. Forced loan. Progressive taxes. Yeah. Yeah. And the final paragraph of this 18. Finally, when all capital and all production and all exchange have been brought together in the hands of the nation, private property will disappear of its own accord, money will become superfluous, and the production will expand and man will so expand and man so change that society will be able to slough off whatever the old economic habits may remain. Hope and change. Hope and change. Progressive, and you have Hillary arguing the other day, I'm as progressive as Bernie. They're all communist, along with the Republicans, establishment, and progressive, Mr. Trump too, okay? Mr. Trump. The only one I see right now, and I talk about Rubio in one of my things. You go online, Gang of 8 Benedict Arnolds. Yeah. Didn't know he was going to be running for president. I would give a special mention there when he starts running for president. Yeah. And Lindsey Graham was at Party 8, and McCain. Yeah. Now, we talk about treason. We talk about you're adhering to Communist Manifesto and the guidelines of the Communist Party 1921. 18 U.S.C. Chapter 115, Treason, Sedition, and Subversive Activities, and I'm only going to talk about a couple of these. You have treason, whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies wars against them and adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States and elsewhere is guilty of treason and shall suffer death. That's why nobody talks about it. We're going to increase we the people, because I'm going to make a final plea, because you people don't make the plea about we the people, all the individuals out there going to their sheriff's police, their state police. If you have a Democratic sheriff, you might want to go to state police. You want to go file. Because I'm telling you about treason. Now you know about treason. And that gets in to 2382, which is a notice of treason that I sent to the 7 people. Judge Judge John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States. Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House. Mitch McConnell, Majority Leader. Don't expect to hear from them back. Let's go ahead and file charges against them. But then there's James Comey, FBI. I thought by now I'd hear from him. I'm disappointed in him. Then Mr. Rauner, Governor Rauner, Illinois. I mentioned him. Well, I sent it to him. Okay. And let me go through the other two. There's Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court, Rita Garman, and the Leo Schmitz, who's the head of the Illinois State Police. Surprised I haven't heard from him. I thought I'd hear from police and law enforcement because they're the ones that are marked, and they are marked for assassination. And I'll get into that in a minute. But Rauner, in September 12th, I went to a local Republican picnic. Not that I belong to the Republican Party. I tend to vote Republican because they're better than the Democrats, and there may be some hope. But you vote for them, and they don't follow through anyway. So, but I went there September 12th, and I talked. I ran into him. Had my Oath Keeper hat on. He said, "Oh, thank you for your service." Yeah. All words, no action. Because I told him about terrorism, gangs. He needed to do something about that. Shook his head. Yeah. Not doing anything about it. That's seditious conspiracy, by the way. But we're misprision of treason, 2382. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States have knowledge of the commission of any treason against them conceals and does not, as soon as may be, disclose and make known the same to the President or some judge in the United States or the governor or some judge or justice of a particular state is guilty of misprision of treason. So there, well, you don't talk about treason. I'm making public notice. And you don't report it. You don't report it. And everybody that I'm telling should be going to the police now. Who's watching this? Go to the police. Oath Keepers, NRA, all you people. We the people, go to the police. Go to the police. Rebellion or insurrection. Been going on since 1886 and revitalized, instituted actively 1965 with Beyonce's Black Panther Party. 1969, that's why they come up with SWAT teams to get fight them. Beyonce dancing, oh yeah, the Super Bowl. Committing treason. Advocating the overthrow of government. Yeah. Yeah. Don't hear about that on Yahoo either, do you? Yahoo, yeah. Seditious conspiracy, 2384. And the one here, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay execution of any law in the United States. They have a terrorist, Street Gang Terrorist Act of 2012. And the Democratic Party does not enforce that law and are committing seditious conspiracy along with misprision of treason and insurrection, and they're all part of it. Gangs. Chicago. You don't talk about it either, do you? Oh, you don't talk about that as being treason and insurrection. Well, you must be doing 2385 then, advocating the overthrow of government. I'm just going to read the first paragraph because there's several paragraphs. Because this talks about the marking of the hitting of public officials, police officers, constitutional officers. Okay? Whoever knowingly and willfully advocates, abets, advises, or teaches a duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the government of the United States or the government of any state, territory, district, or possession thereof, or the government of any political subdivision therein by force or violence, or by the assassination of any officer of any such government. Or, and it goes another couple paragraphs. When they talk about printing and publishing and whatever. 1909 law. 1909 law. All you news media people violating the law. Why don't you let me come on? I can talk to people about that. Huh? Yeah. Howard Kurtz, media buzz. You don't talk about it, do you? You don't criticize the other ones. You don't criticize Fox. Yeah. Fox Business in the pockets of the 1% who taken all the property. Oath keepers, by the way, oath keepers. Probably the next one I do is going to be about oath keepers. I find I get a lot of response, views, when I mention oath keepers. Thing out in Oregon, BLM. I listened to a tape yesterday from oath keepers having a discussion about the situation. And he talked, Stuart Rhodes talked about, and others, talked about the people east of Mississippi don't understand property, BLM. We understand it very clearly, Mr. Rhodes. We understand it very clearly. I read it. They're taking all the property. They just don't want BLM. Just like they took the property from the Indians, the tribal nations, sovereign tribal nations. They took all the property from them. Yeah, that's communism. That's communism. Democratic Party since 1860 platform talks about a democratic constitution. We are not a democratic constitution. Federalist 51, we're a compound republic. 50 state republics and one federal republic. The 50 state republics are supposed to be there for when you have the oppression, not like they did in Oregon. Two senators and the governor calling in the federales, insurgents, the thugs. You notice they didn't do it right away. They brought in the thugs. Violating their oath. They'll be just like Ruby Ridge and Wounded Knee and Waco, Texas, the MOVE organization in Philadelphia, the internment of Japanese, all by Democrats. No justice, no peace. Kill Mr. Finicum. Yeah. Singled him out. Wonder why? Oh, that's right. He had a lawsuit against them. BLM down at his ranch down in Arizona. Get rid of two for the price of one. Should make a display of him. intimidate people, killing him out there in Oregon for his involvement there. And he also had a lawsuit, yeah. I wonder what's going to happen to the lawsuit now, huh? Yeah. Yeah, they'll get that property too, commies. Communist DOJ. And with that, file with the police. Treason, treason, treason.